Today we check out the Hisense U65QF ULED Mini-LED. Budget friendly, but with high-end specs and performance. Up next.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me as we check out the Hisense U65QF ULED Mini-LED. As I've mentioned, this is their entry to their high-end displays for 2025. Now, why do I say that? Even though it is an entry and a value-based model, it still is a mini LED, still has great sound, and still is 144 hertz. Hisense has covered all the bases in 2025, even with cutting-edge technology on their 116 UX, their U8Q and U7Q, leaving the U65 QF as the last piece of the puzzle. Without further ado, let's check out the Hisense U65 QF. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. We're going to unbox the U65QF with the Hisense U7Q and U8Q in the background looking on. Now I'll have both the 65 U7Q and U8Q in the background throughout this unboxing to highlight some of the differences you'll see in their design and what you get and what you don't get with the U65 QF. Namely, the U65 QF is a Fire TV, which is why you have the F, where the U7Q and U8Q are actually U7QGs for Google TV. Now, as we unbox, I want to just discuss a few things that can be very confusing if you're looking for the U65 QF online. If you look on Best Buy's website at the prices and sizes available, make sure you're looking at the U65 QF because there is a U6 from last year and it does look similar because of the Anthony Edwards NBA logo that you see on the box. Looking at what comes in the box, you have 2 plastic feet, Amazon Fire remote, detachable power cable, and screws for the stand. Seeing how well the TV is protected. Now, the reason why I bring up what I said about the logo is you'll see the Anthony Edwards NBA logo on this box, but if you look up the Best Buy pricing or even Amazon, you may see a soccer World Cup logo. Make sure it's the U65 QF and not just the U6, which is confusing because the box says U6 with Anthony Edwards on it. So I want to just clarify that as we go through the unboxing. Now back to the unboxing. As I mentioned, the TV is very well protected. We do have a glossy screen. Looking at the back of the Hisense U65 QF, we have 4 HDMI, 2 are HDMI 2.1 capable of 144 hertz. More importantly, the eARC is HDMI 1, not using the HDMI 2.1 ports for eARC. And there is the number U65QF. The feet simply key in. There is no way to put them in backwards. You do have one position out wide. They simply screw in and you're done. The Amazon Fire TV is very easy to set up, just like any other Fire Stick. Link your Amazon account in just a few minutes, you are ready to rock. Any Hisense TV I review, I always leave initially in retail mode. There is so much information on their retail mode. Now you'll have to restart the TV from factory settings after, as I remove the plastic, but I do find the retail mode of Hisense to be the most comprehensive of any other manufacturer. There is so much information in their retail mode. You can learn everything you want to know about your TV and see Hisense's demo material in that retail mode. Every TV I reviewed from them, I simply leave it like this for a few minutes and you'll have all the information you'll need about your TV just from the retail mode. Plus, again, seeing the same Hisense demo material we saw at CES. This mode will literally show you every spec and feature and an example of what that feature does, as well as show you how good the local dimming is and even sizes available. Again, keep in mind, you'll simply have to restart your TV to factory default and start over, but it only takes a few minutes. I think it's worth doing. Moving on. And here we are with the U65 QF out of retail mode, now in home mode. We are in the standard preset. This is the preset that the U65 QF ships in. And actually the reflection handling is quite good. We are in a very bright room, windows everywhere and lights behind me. And here the U65 QF is next to the U7Q and the U8Q. I wanted to have these side by side again to show you the differences in image quality and for me to simply see how they stack up in the same preset. So I'm getting the same impressions you were getting, and I was very happy with how the U65 QF compared to the U7Q and U8Q, though there are big differences in price and very big differences in the way these TVs are spec'd in terms of their zone counts, peak brightness, and features. Now, to be very honest, I have not reviewed a U6 series from Hisense before and was looking forward to reviewing more TVs of this caliber, simply because Hisense having mini LED even down to the U6 shows you it does have, again, high-end specs and features. Now here you see we do have a Fire TV remote and operating system. On the U7Q, U8Q, you have a premium backlit remote, and as I mentioned, you have Google TV. Plastic center stand on the U7Q, metal center stand on the U8Q. So you can see the differences in its build quality and what you get. Again, you have one out wide position, plastic feet on the U6Q. And me showing the three of them together will help you make a better choice on which level you'd like to go with. Looking at the back of the U65 QF, we'll call it the U6Q from now on, you do have a 2.1 multi-channel sound system up to 50 watts, detachable power cable, upgraded sound system on the U7Q, same hard plastic on the back. The design is very similar to the U6Q, other than the extra speakers and center stand. Detachable power cable here as well. Moving up to the U8Q, you can see the quality jumps up quite a bit in terms of its build quality and sound quality, with the U8Q having a design that more mirrors the 116UX. And here they are, all three together. Let's get the Hisense U65 QF into the studio now and show you the preset that it ships in and the various options within each picture preset. The Hisense U65 QF does ship in the standard preset, and its light sensor is enabled by default. It is rather aggressive, though there is a scale where you can actually determine how aggressive it is, but it will dim the TV quite a bit, so I recommend turning that off initially to see what the TV is really capable of. Now, I go through these picture settings within the preset to make sure that the settings are really all available. You do have a different operating system here in comparison to the other TVs in the lineup, but I want to make sure you still have the ability to change the image to however you'd like, to make sure you don't lose really any of the features that you would have on the U7 and the U8. Simply put, at this price point, you don't want to lose any of the flexibility of image of the other TVs in the lineup. Sometimes with TVs that are more affordable, you'll have a reduced menu in comparison to the other TVs. Here, the difference really is Amazon versus Google. The settings are all here in terms of the picture settings. Now, in their presets, you have Vivid, Standard, Movie, Sport, and you do still have a Filmmaker mode, as well as having HDR10, HDR10 Plus, Dolby Vision, and HLG. So all major HDR formats, again, which is excellent at this price point. And you're gonna hear me say that a lot through the video, is delineating the price point. What separates the U6? So you're still getting those major formats. You don't lose Dolby Vision, HDR10 Plus. You still have them. And again, very few TVs at this price range are going to have those HDR formats. We'll spend a lot of time here in the Filmmaker mode. And I was very happy to see all of the picture presets being present, and the fact that they do look very different from one another. And you do, again, have the ability to change the image however you like with various features within those presets. I will say that the Hisense U65 QF is very bright. I was very surprised by how bright it was, as well as its local dimming. The TV does have very good blacks. Again, it is a mini LED with up to 600 dimming zones and up to 1,000 nits of peak brightness. Now, I will have a video of the entire lineup in comparison to each other, and even here in the sports mode with the motion settings on high, and there are a lot of motion settings to go through. TV has very good motion. Didn't notice any artifacting even in quick transitions in sports. Now, due to copyright, I can only show you demo material, though I did study the TV on my own with all types of content. But there are, again, a lot of features within the noise reduction, clarity menus, and the motion menus. They're as clear, they're smooth. I did enable a lot of those, and they didn't seem to create any artifacting. See here on the fast transitions. But again, very bright, very vibrant, and again, also very impressed with the local dimming, which you'll see here. Now, these are punishing tests from our good friend Jennifer Gala, and the U65 QF does an excellent job while still being very bright. Now, we are in the standard preset, we're not in a filmmaker mode, and the local dimming does a great job with these transitions. Going into our local dimming drip, you can see the TV stays very bright while the drip comes down. There is some haloing around the bright images as it fills the screen. But as long as you are dead center, the local dimming is very impressive for the price. Now, I'm going to say that again and again. For the price, it does very well. But you will have to be dead center. The biggest weakness of the local dimming is off angle. You will see noticeable haloing off angle, and not just way off angle, even slightly off angle. So make sure you're dead center. But again, for the price, really impressed with its ability to handle very bright objects against a black background. Moving dead center, it looks great, but just keep that in mind. And the larger you go, as there are sizes available up to 100 inches, viewing angle is less important. Here, black bar test looks great. Moving over to the side, you can see the black bars do light up quite a bit, but I wasn't really disappointed, again, for the price. And that the U65 QF is very bright. They could easily have lowered the brightness and have the local dimming being more effective. Instead, they chose to have more shadow detail, leave the U65 QF very bright, and have some haloing off angle. And I do think that the trade-off is worth it. Now, discussing price for a moment, at the time of this video, this 65-inch is $650 US, with the 55 being less than $500. 100. In between the prices of the U6, the U7, and U8, those differences are between $200, $300, even $400 in between the 6 and the 7, and can be as much as double between the 6 and the 8. Now those prices again do change a ton depending on when you see this video, which is why I'm not going to list all of the prices, but the U6Q is much more affordable than its siblings. Let's move into SDR content, and the U6Q is very bright in SDR in all presets, which many TV manufacturers of even very high-end TVs struggled with their SDR brightness this year. What also impressed me most with the Hisense U65QF was how its processing handled even the very bright presets. As you'll see here in the vivid preset, even pushed very bright, there was very little noise in the image, which is rare for a TV of any caliber. A very special thanks to the one and only Jennifer Gala and her second channel, HDR SUPER CHANNEL. The majority of content seen within this video and the intro is courtesy of both channels. Check the description below for links to both channels, and consider becoming a Patreon member to Jen's main channel and enjoy most of this content on your next TV. Thank you, Jen. So again, very impressed with the processing when pushing the TV very bright. You can actually enjoy it in both the standard and the vivid preset without any real noise or problems. Let's move on to Dolby Vision using the Spears and Munsell benchmark calibration disc. And you do have several different presets for Dolby Vision: Dolby Vision Dark, Dolby Vision IQ, Dolby Vision Vivid, Dolby Vision Standard, Sport, and Game. It does ship in Dolby Vision IQ. I do prefer Dolby Vision Dark as it is still bright enough. Again, all the presets, even the bright ones, looked good, but I did prefer Dolby Vision Dark, and that's the one that we're going to run with through the Spears and Munsell Dolby Vision portion. Now, as we go through the Dolby Vision content, it does look very good, but I have to say, when judging or reviewing a TV of this caliber and price point, it's very important to think about what you're really looking at. The U65 QF is in a room surrounded by about 12 of the best TVs in the world, very large mini LEDs and OLEDs, and it's so important to judge each TV on its own merits, especially when price point is taken into account. With that said, really impressed with the U65 QF. Let's move into HDR 10 Plus. We'll use Return of the King, and you'll see the HDR 10 Plus indicator right next to the HDMI 1 indicator. What I like about HDR 10 Plus is all of the presets are available to you, and each one does look very different from one another. And again, very impressed with how the U65 QF looked in all content, even movies and streaming. Another shot of Return of the King. And then for upscaling, we're going to go into Black Rain because Michael Douglas's mullet is fire in this movie. And I was pleasantly surprised at how the U65 QF handled its upscaling of sub 1080p. Now let's move over to the legendary Columbo test. And here I'll show you with Columbo, as we move into the brighter presets, the image does not fall apart. Even going from movie to vivid, the image still looks good. So very impressed with the processing on the U65 QF, especially its noise reduction and keeping that to a minimum. Moving into my local Costco, and you will see a 100-inch U65 QFC for $17.99. This is again a 144 hertz mini LED at 100 inches for less than $2,000. Now the 100-inch does have an anti-glare coating, which is actually very helpful for TVs that size that would pick up every reflection in your living room. But to still have a 144 hertz mini LED of this magnitude for less than $2,000 is ridiculous, and I love seeing Hisense also have a larger store presence, not just in Bestbuy, but in wholesale clubs as well. Let's move into the audio portion of the video. Now, audio is nearly impossible to convey over YouTube. We'll still use our good friend Jennifer Gala in the background, but you can see here we have several different audio presets: standard, movie, music, sport, and custom. You have an up to 50 watt 2.1 multi-channel surround sound built in with a subwoofer. I like the surround virtualizer a little more than even the Atmos. The sound is very good for the money. And as I showed earlier in the video, with all the TVs side by side, the speaker configurations get more elaborate as you go up the lineup to the U7Q and the U8Q. But the U65 QF, I was still surprised at how good the sound was. More importantly, still having full control of how you want the TV to sound depending on what you're watching: sports, movies, dialogue, and then being able to customize it to whatever you like. I was impressed with the sound. Again, as I've said several times, you get so much here for the money. So for the audio, not just the visual, I was very impressed. Let's move into gaming on the PS5 Pro. We'll do console gaming first. Now, what you're going to see different from the U65 QF versus the U7 and U8 is we do not have a game bar here, nor do we have any other presets other than the game mode, which is unfortunate. However, the game mode does look very good and can be very customized within its own preset. As we go through the game mode, you'll see the different abilities to change the image. More importantly, being able to change your local dimming with any mini LED is very important in gaming. You do lose the ability to toggle on dynamic contrast, which is very common for mini LEDs, but it is a bummer to lose the game bar. And more importantly for me, the game picture presets, the different genre presets that you will see on the step up U7 and U8. But again, at the price point, the game mode does look very good and does perform very well. You do see here, you do have tone mapping options. I do like the feature, which is the intelligent HDR. I do like the impact you're seeing in the clarity separation in the clouds. So it's very cool to have tone mapping options that you can change to your liking, as well as having the local dimming being able to be enabled and disabled, as well as the color you're seeing me change here. So there is flexibility. There's also a ton of motion settings that are open to you for gaming. It is a bummer to lose the game mode bar and the genre picture settings, but again, at this price point, to have a TV that is 144 hertz and have those capabilities is pretty incredible. VRR is enabled automatically, and most TVs at this price point are 60 hertz and typically are edge lit. So to have a full array mini LED with these kinds of options, especially 144 hertz, is amazing. So we continue to go through some of the motion settings that you can enable and disable, even enabling clear. I didn't notice any flickering or even the image dim at all. So I didn't see any extra artifacting regardless of the motion settings that I enabled, which is pretty amazing. I'm not sure how much they helped, but it's cool that they are there to change. And the more options, the better when it comes to anything that is enabled and not grayed out in game mode. And again, I was impressed with the flexibility of image. Though you are locked to the game preset, you do have a Dolby Vision gaming and HDR 10 plus gaming. They're great to have. They don't matter much, but they are great to see here present on the U65 QF. Let's move into PC gaming, where 144 hertz and an NVIDIA control panel is there automatically, nothing to change, and it is very responsive as we check out Shinobi. And gaming on PC with the U65 QF was very cool. It was awesome that 144 hertz was enabled right away. There was nothing that I had to change in the control panel, which is something you normally have to do. See here, we're there at 145 hertz. Now you may say to yourself, if you are a PC gamer, do you need 144 hertz? You'll be surprised with DLSS. Many games like Horizon Forbidden West, you can get 144 hertz at 4K. And me personally, I can feel the difference between 60, 120, and 144. So love having 144 hertz capability and the flexibility to go from console to PC so seamlessly. And just like SDR going into SDR gaming on PC, it is very bright. So I enjoyed gaming on both console and PC. So in closing, what are my final thoughts on the U65 QF? I was actually very impressed with the U65 considering how much you get for the price. It is very bright, does have all the HDR formats, does have good sound and flexibility of image and sound. The build quality is also very good as you saw it compared to its step-up siblings, the U7 and the U8. Its local dimming is also very impressive as long as you are on angle. Its biggest weakness is going to be its off-angle viewing where blooming will become a problem, again, off angle. So as long as you don't mind sitting dead center, you will enjoy the image. In comparison to the U7 and U8, what you will see is the image can look a little flat compared to TVs such as its siblings at the higher price point. Though when it's alone, that is not as noticeable. Meaning the U65 does have depth, just not as much of that three-dimensionality that you will see on both the U7 and the U8. Now, in regards to its design, I don't mind the design at all, but I rather have two positions, one more narrow for those of you that have smaller tables. The legs don't go all the way to the edge of the TV, so it will fit on most TV stands, but I'd love to have another position if that would be possible. And losing the backlit remote, which has become famous with Hisense TVs the last few years, does stink, as I do love the backlit remote. I don't mind the Amazon Fire OS. Some of you might mind that, but it doesn't really interfere with the TV at all other than just the interface. It does move quickly. Some of you don't love it. Other than that, I do recommend the U65 QF, as it is an excellent TV for the price. I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.
It's better to burn out than to fade away. There can be only one.